Now, before I start work on the next pair of volumes, Nicholas Nickleby, I'd just like to show you the two title pages. You can see on the right, volume 1, on the left, volume 2. Look at the publisher. Publisher of volume 1, it says Chapman and Hall 193 Piccadilly, and it's dated 1862, whereas the other one has both publishers' names and is dated 1861. Now, the surprising thing about this is that the one on the right, this one, the title page is tipped in on a stub. What that means is that it originally had a title page like this, but the publishers issuing it in 1862 thought, we don't need to advertise Bradbury and Evans anymore, so they tore out the title page and inserted a new one, only naming themselves. Strange but true. So this pair of volumes, which was bought at the same time, presumably in 1862, gives different publishers and different years, but actually they were both printed in 1861. There you go. So Pickwick's done. I can turn my attention now to volumes 3 and 4 of the Illustrated Library Edition, which was Nicholas Nickleby. And here they are. Here are the two volumes, and I've just had a quick look at them, and I'd say, if anything, they're in even worse condition than Pickwick. Split down the spine here. The binding has effectively disintegrated, lots of sections completely loose, hanging out, totally split. The rear, bits missing, paper falling out as I open it up. That was volume 1. Volume 2, pages sticking out proud. There's a plate there that's hanging out, dog-eared, totally split down the spine, badly damaged at the lower end of the spine, and not a dissimilar job actually to the Pickwick papers. So we're going to be covering much of the same ground again, but there's a lot of work to do. And the first thing I have to do is basically take the volumes to pieces so that I can start on the repair work. Here we go. Right, I'm just going through folding over some dog-eared edges on text pages and on plates, and then seeing, yes, this is where I have to slit through. It was only the front hinge that I had to slit through the old mull, and taking off this backing paper. Right, I've removed the spine lining that came off easily, so it was already unglued. The rest of it I've got to scrape off, and this is a really tedious, long-winded job, and I won't even bother filming it. We did this for Pickwick. Come back and join me in about 10 or 15 minutes.
3 days later.
Well, like I said, that was about 15 minutes work, and that's the difference. Looking at it from this side, I can see there are quite a few little holes in the spine. I'm going to need to reback that with some of this red cloth, won't show. So I'm going to leave that for a while now and deal with the text block, re-gluing the plates that are loose, making sure the sections are more or less even. First of all though, I'm going to clean it. Remember, either wear a mask or go into the open air to do it, because you don't want to get old book dust in your lungs. Here is how dirty it was, and here's how clean it now is. And while I was cleaning it, most of the spine mull and paper just came off in my hands. It was barely attached to the spine sections at all. So that's another job I've done kind of incidentally while I was cleaning this. First thing to re-glue is the frontispiece, which shows Wackford Squeers with a father and some new boys. This is the frontispiece for volume 1. Just drying off the brush because it's been in water, and then dip it into the PVA, and you want a fairly dry brush here. You don't want much glue on at all, and I'm trying to put the glue right along the edge of the page, no more than a couple of millimeters either side of the edge. Make sure you haven't got any blobs of glue, and then very carefully place it exactly where you want it, right into the crease, and fold it down here. So I'm just folding down the end paper. Just a basic point here, this is between pages 80 and 81. these books are all bound in 16, so if you want to see where the joins are, where the section ends are, it's going to be 16, 32, 48, 64, 80, 96, etc. Okay, and there's a printer's mark here. So this is where you want to look. Every 16 pages, see if it's secured or not. And this is basically falling to pieces. The whole of it is only held together by these strings. And all I'm going to do is just ensure that when I put the new mull on, it's got something fairly firm to cling to. So I'm just going to take some of these sections and put this fine fillet of glue along the edge just to keep them in place. They'll be secured much more firmly once I've put the mull on. Okay, as you can see, I've prepared the spine mull, and over that I'm going to put this quite strong brown paper. I use this rather than put mull over the paste downs because I want to preserve the end papers. If I put new mull over here, I'd have to put another element of repair in it. Instead, what I do is I just fold the brown paper inside the spine and I secure the binding with archival tape. So nothing shows. You can't see how the repair was done, and it's as good as if I had put new mull inside the paste downs. So I've prepared these two together because I like to put first of all the mull, and then while that's still wet, put the brown paper on and glue everything down quickly. Right, this is the start of a big job, putting lots of glue onto the spine, making sure it goes down in the cracks between the sections, then putting the mull on, firmly securing it, and then putting another layer of glue on straight away. More glue, it hasn't had time to dry yet, some of the glue will have seeped through, and then the brown paper. Snip it at the edges, make sure it's nicely creased so that it's going to be exactly to the edge of the text block. Give about an inch or an inch and a half clearance on either side, and it's done. Right, that's the text block secured. Nothing's going to fall out now, and I can turn my attention back to the binding. So you can see where we're at. Just like with Pickwick, I've got to slit inside between the boards and the cloth, create a little groove there that I can insert a new piece of cloth in on both sides. I'm going to need to split here in order to make the cut neat all the way down, and again I'm going to use original cloth to cover those pieces at each end that show where there's original spine cloth missing. Here we go. This is a delicate job. What you need to use for this is a clean, blunt craft knife. What I mean by blunt is it hasn't got a sharp blade. It's already been used quite a lot. It can cut, but it's really good for levering. And what I'm doing here is inserting the craft knife between the cloth and the straw boards. And you can see I'm wiggling it. And as I move it along, I'm just twisting it slightly and it lifts the cloth up from the boards. You can't rush this job. You've got to do it very carefully or else you'll tear through the cloth. And then when you get to the end, you have to tear through the little bit of cloth that's been turned over at the top and the bottom of the spine. I think I've nearly got it there. Yep. Yep. Working your way back down, make sure you've got a clean cut all the way, open it up and it parts nicely. Well, that's gone fairly painlessly, so that was quite easy to do. And you need, I'd say, a good centimetre of groove to put the new cloth in. Possibly slightly more, but sometimes you can't get in any deeper, particularly if there's heavy embossing on the covers. You'll just slit through the cloth. That should be fine. Now, same on the other side. This one needs a bit more work on it. You can probably see that some of the card is exposed there. The various layers of the straw board are showing, and so I just work a bit of glue into the corner there. While I'm engaged in this job, I'll tell you a little bit about the history of Nicholas Nickleby, the novel. So this was Dickens's first book after he'd completed Oliver Twist. It's not a follow-up to Oliver Twist, it's more a follow-up to Pickwick, but it's got a more consecutive and more integrated narrative. In a way, it's Dickens's first attempt at writing something about himself, because there are elements of Dickens in Nicholas, and he'll reprise these and develop on them in David Copperfield. It's also, I have to say, Dickens's funniest book. So if you find Pickwick a bit heavy going, Nicholas Nickleby should come as light relief. There are plenty of interesting characters. You can actually laugh out loud at parts of Nicholas Nickleby, which can't be said of all Dickens novels. And it's got a good plot, romantic interest, villains. You've got the story of Nicholas becoming a school teacher in a very poor Yorkshire school. And in fact, Dickens's depiction of the Yorkshire schools led to the closure of many of these iniquitous institutions. This school run by Wackford Squeers, what a wonderful name. We've got the tragic and pathetic story of Smike. We've also got the wonderful Cheeryble brothers, these magic fairy godfathers that help Nicholas out and enable him to realise his dreams. Lot to enjoy in it. So Nicholas Nickleby, 1839, one of Dickens's best. I'm going to leave the case to dry out a bit before I reinsert the text block, because it's still a bit damp. So leave it for half an hour maybe, and then I'll complete the job.
7 years later.
Right, back to work. Case has dried out now, so I can join the text block to it. And now this is what it's all been for. I'm putting glue onto the brown paper, which I'm inserting into the spine. I've done one edge, I'm doing the other edge now. This is the front cover, and press it down, and now I'm cleaning it, and the job's done. 2 hours effort, and there it is, volume 1 of Nicholas Nickleby. It functions perfectly well as a book. The pages don't fall out. It's quite smart. This one, look, this is the condition it was in. Here's its companion volume, still awaiting attention. You can see there's a bit of an improvement. Next job, do volume 2.